Good evening, America. This is another episode of All Things Science with your host, Dr. Harrison Johnson. This evening we'll be discussing cloning. Here with me tonight is the esteemed author and Yale University professor, Mike.
Literus.
So, Mike, what is cloning?
Well, cloning is a rather broad topic, but in layman's terms, it is forcing an organism or a cell to reproduce and make a copy of the original. This can be as small as doing a gene, or as complex as making a living, breathing creature.
Are there different types of cloning?
Yes,
Well, would you like to elaborate on those different types of cloning?
I would.
Okay, so
There are, recombination DNA cloning, more simply known as DNA cloning. There is also the most popular type of cloning, reproductive cloning, and as well as therapeutic cloning, which is the use of stem cells.
fascinating. Now we will turn to our specialist for more details.
The name's Rex. You'll call me Captain or Sir.
Recombination DNA cloning is used by taking a strand of DNA or a gene from an organism in order to study it. After extracting the strand, it is placed in a plasmid. This can then replicate the strand of DNA. This is done so it can be introduced to host cells from forming breeding, thereby mixing the DNA of two different organisms. This is used in insulin in order to make chemicals, or the chemical instrument, insulin. The insulin gene is replicated from injecting a gene coding for insulin, which then a bacterial plasmid is introduced, and thereby reproducing the insulin gene.
Hi, I'm Dolly. Reproductive cloning is a technology used to generate an animal with the exact same nuclear DNA as another animal, living or dead. Dolly, the superstar, was created using reproductive cloning. The actual process is called somatic cell nuclear transfer. Scientists transfer genetic material from the nucleus of a donor adult egg. Once the cloned embryo reaches an acceptable state, it is placed in the uterus of a female host, where twill continue to develop until birth. You know all about that, eh, Mike? Literus. The critical point to remember about this type of cloning is, it is not an identical clone of the donor animal. It just contains the same chromosomal or nuclear DNA as the donor. Therapeutic cloning is more commonly known as embryo cloning, and also is the study of stem cells. A stem cell is harvested from an embryo, and then can become any cell in the human physiology. With this, an egg extracted from an ovary can then have its DNA extracted and replaced by another cell's DNA. Results have shown that out of this one egg, 6 skin cells were made. This stem cell research is used to cure disease in the human body, as well as to study the body. It is hoped that stem cells might one day be a treatment to heart disease, Alzheimer's, cancer, and many other harmful diseases. Back to you, Harrison. Thank you, General Rex and Dolly, for your insight on the issue.
Very well put.
What is hoped for cloning?
Cloning is directly related to helping human life by preserving it, saving it, and hopefully one day we can repair the body. This would be organs, tissues, and cells. But we would also like to cure diseases such as heart disease, Alzheimer's, and cancer. But at this moment, we are only just barely scratching the potential of cloning and what it can do.
So what you're saying is that if someone has, let's say, tissue damage, one day you hope cloning could fix that?
Yes, that is our goal.
For you movie buffs in the crowd, that was the premise of the movie The Island. Interesting. Would you say that cloning could have adverse effects on the human life?
Well, there's always a risk, and we don't have the method or the technology to test it. But as of this point of right now, there are ethical issues, mainly to do with the therapeutic cloning and the reproductive cloning.
I'll explain those ethical issues.
Well, why don't we ask our friend, Rex the Stormtrooper? Well, as a clone, I know that there are ethical issues. Embryo cloning is taking a stem cell from the embryo and essentially a living being in the eyes of many people. This then raises a problem. We can doom an embryo's life for the sake of science. Also, when it comes to reproductive cloning, many questions are asked about whether it is right to or not to clone a human being. Well, in the future, they don't really care about this situation of humans being cloned, because they just do it anyway, because they want to. Most clones, though, die at half of the regular age expectancy, and these clones are the clones that survive right now, 2 or 3 out of 100 attempts that are the 2 and the 3 are the only success. From there on, an untold number of deaths or defects. For example, if you look at our cloned sheep, large offspring syndrome is very common, and well, it makes the offspring a freak. Also, as a result, lots of money and time is put into this research, and it can be a failure, thereby destroying the dreams and creating an economic sinkhole.
Is it dangerous?
Well, let's ask our sheep, Dolly.
What happened?
Well, Dolly grew to be 6 years old, and even though that's only half of the life expectancy, she did very well, had 6 children, but sadly she had many difficulties of old age.
Wait, that was a she? I guess large offspring syndrome is very severe.
Yes, it is. And as a result, Dolly was a freak, and she also had lung cancer and very bad arthritis.
So they put an end to her suffering.
Yes.
Well, that about wraps up all things science. This has been another productive episode. I hope you walk away feeling refreshed. Make sure to check out Mike's new book. Get your hands off my baby clone. Yeah. Stay classy.